In this video, I am going to show you how I put in a garden at my new place from start to finish. My wife and I bought a new place a few years ago, and putting in a garden here at the new place, I've always had a garden. I've never had one quite this big. So first off, I come in here and I rip this using the disc chisel or disc ripper as you see here. And of course, what I didn't know when I bought this property, a guy had owned this property several years ago, and I was told he buried a bunch of asphalt and concrete and stuff like that, as I am finding out. And every time I till the garden, I'm still finding new surprises. I first ripped this in March on a frosty morning, then I let the ground settle, picked up all the debris I could, then it sat for several weeks. We got to get the garden worked up here. Yeah, this might be a bit overkill, but you know what? You got to use the tools you have available to you. That didn't take long. And if you're looking to put in a garden for the first time, of course you do not need this kind of equipment to do it. It's just what I had available at the time. I thought it'd be a good idea to rip it, then run the field cultivator, kind of smooth it out a little bit. Now we will get back to normal. Now I believe my little Massey Ferguson and my Woods rototiller will be able to handle this. So I have this little 1725 Massey Ferguson tractor. Absolutely love it. Great little tractor here. And I bought this 48-inch Woods tiller to put behind it. Works up the ground really nice. Also, the guy that lives across the road from me has horses, so I was able to get some horse manure and spread throughout the garden and got that worked in as well. So I have some good organic fertilizer, organic matter to get things growing. And of course, I did put down some fertilizer as well to work in. So I'm initially going to work all of this just because it was sawed, get this broke up, and then I will just work up a little bit at a time as I start planting. So I'm going to start out with sweet corns and some peas, some early stuff will be the first crops I put in here. Then as we get into May, I'll probably get into my peppers and tomatoes and other stuff like that. After all the garden was worked up nice and had everything the way I wanted it, then when I go to put my rows in, I'll actually come in with the walk-behind tiller to make my initial mark for my row. Row spacing and distance between plants will vary depending what you're planting. I'll go through that as we go through the video. Alright, the corn rows are 30 inches apart, so I'll put a flag in at this end. And then I'll go down there, measure 30 inches, and then I'll pull a string or make a line, and then I'll plant a corn seed about every 6 inches. All right, here is the sweet corn seeds. The variety I'm planting here is Obsession 3. It's an 85-day corn, and it's bicolor, so it'll be white and yellow. So we'll just put one here about every 6 inches down the row. I cover them with dirt and then I'll walk on it just to kind of tamp the soil down, and usually that works. A lot of times when I determine my row spacing, then I'll just drag the hoe here, kind of make a furrow from flag to flag. That gets me pretty straight as far as the row grows. My sweet corn, I plant sweet corn about a week apart, a couple different rows just to space it out. So when the sweet corn's ready, I have it ready every week. So we have fresh sweet corn starting somewhere about the middle of July all the way up into September. Here I am going to plant peppers. I initially start the garden out planting early stuff like peas, green beans, sweet corn. There's crops you can plant early. Usually I wait on the peppers and tomatoes into about mid-May. So we'll get a row of peppers going here, and we like the green bell peppers because we freeze a lot of those, we eat a lot of those. I'll do some banana peppers, sometimes I'll do some jalapenos. I don't eat a lot of those, but it's always fun growing this stuff. So I'm going to go through here. The pepper plants I usually space out. I'll dig the hole here and I'll space these plants out about 2 feet apart as I go down the row. I dig the hole, drop the plant in, then I'll pack the soil all around the plant, and then once I get all the plants in, then I'll come with a bucket of water. I'll lightly water everything. Now it's pretty crucial to make sure these get watered initially from the start till they get a root system going and so forth. Then you don't have to water them as often, but something you always got to keep an eye on. And since I'm planting a couple different varieties of peppers, then once I plant the plant, I'll take the little tag out, put it in beside there so I know what each plant is. Of course, once they're ready, kind of figure that out anyhow. As I said earlier, row spacing varies depending on the vegetable or the plant that I'm going here. So I'm going to go from peppers over here, and I'm going to put in a row of tomatoes, and I think I went about 48 inches here. So the tomato plants really branch out quite a bit, and I like to go between the rows with the rototiller as much as I can, just for weed control and stuff like that. So again, I put my flags in the ground, then I'll take the hoe here and I'll just cut a furrow or a trench down so I have a straight line to go with, and then I'll start digging holes and dropping tomato plants in. You really don't need a lot of tomatoes because tomato plants can really produce, and generally every year a couple plants will produce way more than one family can use at one time. So we'll do like 1 or 2 plants of like the slicers for sandwiches, stuff like that, and then we'll do a couple aromas where we'll can tomato sauce, and then usually 1 cherry tomato plant. And I always put the cages around the tomato plants just to help them grow up more. And always put the cages down. As soon as I plant them, I'll put the cage around, and then I'll stake them. That way the tomato plant never gets ahead, and just like to do that initially, and then it's done. Because when these things do start growing, they'll branch up pretty fast. And as you can see, we still have some pretty good moisture down here in the ground, so quite moist. I'll dig my hole, same as the peppers. Dig down here enough, and then get that tomato plant down in there, and then take my fist and just pound the dirt all around it, get it nice and firm, and then I will water these immediately once I get this whole row in. Right or wrong, that's how I've always done it, and it's always seemed to work out for me. Another thing I should point out is sometimes when you get these plants and they're in the pot, depending how the roots are, they'll want to stick in that pot. So I put it down in there just to make sure I was deep enough. Now if you take that whole pot and put it in a bucket like that, everything kind of saturates, and generally that helps me get it out. Then I can give it a good tap there, and I'm not losing any dirt, screwing up the roots or anything like that. As you see, you can just set her down in there and then just pull my dirt around with my hands and pack her down. And then of course I laid the cages out here for the tomatoes, so once the plant's in and packed down, then I'll set that around as you see. Also, generally when you buy these plants from the greenhouse, it tells you how far to space them apart. So I have plenty of room in my garden here, so I will use the maximum distance. You can plant them sometimes a little tighter than what it says, just depending how much room you have, and it should work out for you. Obviously, it's going to depend on a lot of factors, like making sure they got moisture, they got sunlight, all that good stuff. And I'll just work my way down the line. Now you can see I have a lot of space here for a garden. I will be planting pumpkins later on, and pumpkins need a lot of space with the way the vines branch out and so forth. So once I get my initial vegetables in and stuff, that will be a very small part of my garden, and then we'll just hope for the best when it's pumpkin time. And once in a while when you're pushing these tomato cages down in here, one of those wires will hit a rock or something really hard down below there, so you need to move it around and reposition it a little bit. Also, a lot of times, since the tomato plant grows up pretty high, when I get all done here, I'll actually take a big stake or a piece of rebar or something and just put it in to hold that cage up. So if the plant grows great big and starts leaning one way, it could take the whole cage sideways with it. So if you put a stiff rod, something like that in there, that'll prevent that from falling over as the plant grows to its max height. As you can see, trying to get some of these plant tags down in the soil can be a battle. All right, so the first one I planted is going to be a big tomato. This one here is called a Better Boy. This one here is called a German Johnson. And then we have a cherry tomato. Yeah, cherry tomatoes here. And these are Roma, so we can make some salsa or sauce, stuff like that. So usually tomatoes produce, I'm planting these 3 feet apart. The peppers I did 24 inches apart. So we got that is a red bell, then that is a banana pepper, and we got 2 bell green peppers right there. And I'm gonna get some more peppers and plant them. We generally freeze peppers. And of course you can see the strawberries over there I planted yesterday. And then over on that side of the garden, I planted that a week ago. I didn't film it, but I got a row of green beans, 2 rows of peas, a row of potatoes, 2 rows of sweet corn. I'm gonna plant more sweet corn here in a little bit. I spaced my sweet corn out so it's ready throughout the summer, and then we'll plant a bunch of it so we can freeze corn as well. So that's what we're doing so far. I do have a couple cucumbers up there we'll get planted here in a little bit, and I'll get the rest of these tomatoes put in and go from there. All right, what I didn't show in the video is I took a bucket of water and I gave each plant just a splash of water. Even though I dipped the plant and they were moist, just kind of will firm the ground up around them, I feel. So it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so we should be okay. It's fairly cool, which is a good, I think, a good time to do this. because it doesn't put so much stress on the plant when you transplant it. That's my opinion. Anyways, we'll go over here and we'll look at what I already planted a week ago. All right, this sweet corn has been in the ground exactly a week, and you can see it popping up there. So I got 2 rows coming up here, potatoes, and I did see when I was mowing, yeah, the green beans are starting to come up, and I see the peas poking through. It's almost getting dark here, and I mowed, so you kind of see the green grass there, but you can see the peas are starting to come up as well. I went and got some more of the green bell peppers since we freeze a lot of those, and I'm going to extend this row of peppers down a little further. And now a couple weeks later, we'll take a look here. We've been getting some rain. Everything's turning out pretty good. Nothing's died off. It is important you water your plants, but it just seems like a natural rain always is best for everything. I do put nitrogen on my corn, so I'll put some nitrogen or urea down between the rows. You want to make sure you don't get it too close to the corn because it could burn it. And got the first corn up here, and like I said, I'm going to space those plantings out so we have corn throughout the summer. You can see the potatoes are coming up right there, and of course the peas and the green beans, so everything appears to be okay. And of course, it don't matter what you do, weeds always thrive. So I do run the rototiller down between the rows generally once a week, as you can see right there, just to keep those weeds tilled up. And then I'll take a hoe, or just got to get down on your hands and knees and start pulling weeds. The weeds can definitely get ahead of you if you don't keep up with them. Also, I have since put some cabbage plants in. The strawberries I planted, they won't be ready till next year. Now here's a couple weeks later. You can see just as the summer goes, everything just keeps on growing. I also put in a row of sweet potatoes, and I put those on a ridge or a hill. And this is the second time in my life growing sweet potatoes, but the first time I did it, they turned out really good, so hope they do this year. And then of course when it got dry, I put a sprinkler in here, and you can just see every week it just gets a little bit taller. And we're starting to get some beans on the green bean plants, so it won't be long. We'll be picking green beans. And look at the peas. They're moving right along as well. And the potatoes are coming along also. In the sweet corn here, I got some in tassel, as you can see. Then this was planted a little bit later, and then I got some that was just planted like 10 days ago, and that's starting to pop up as well. And here's a couple shots with the drone as I fly over. You can see the pumpkins in the background. So that first row of pumpkins you see to the right, those are all volunteer seeds that popped up from different gourds and stuff I put down in a corner. And then I planted some bigger pumpkins and then some jack-o'-lanterns. Fly over the sweet corn here, and you can see the potatoes, the peas, and the green beans. Got some cucumbers over here, so I did a couple cucumber plants, and we also did a couple muskmelons. These plants look very similar. We'll move down here. It looks like we got some melons coming on. Vine crops have been an issue around here. Try to spray, but I think it's squash vine borer that seems to get my vine plants every year. I'm spraying, and I hope I can keep ahead of them. I didn't mention we planted zucchini, so 2 zucchini plants is more than enough. The peas are ready. And here's a look after we got a good rain. Like I said, you can water your plants, but it just seems like when you get a rain naturally, it just does everything a lot better than watering. We didn't quite get to the green beans at the exact right time. You can see they're a little bit more or overripe, but well, anyways, we picked them and we're going to freeze them and we will eat them. Of course, growing up, my family had a garden. My wife's family had a garden. My wife does the inside work as far as the freezing and the canning, and I do the outside part, although she's out there with me most of the time. All right, so here it is, mid-July. We got sweet corn ready. This is a bicolor corn, and we're going to have BLTs tonight. BLTs and sweet corn, one of our favorite meals. And we'll eat the corn we can on the cob, and my wife is going to freeze a bunch, and we'll definitely make use of this throughout the year. The potatoes are ready. Now, I plant a row of potatoes just for fun. I don't know that we have the best soil for potato growing, but like I said, it's just something fun to do, and we do get some potatoes, and we will eat them. So I'm going to go ahead and dig these up. I did plant these on a hill or a ridge, as you see here, and there's the first potato of the year. I think potatoes do better in a sandy or lighter soil than the clay we have here in Ohio. At least it seems like that's the places where they do grow potatoes. But like I said, we got a crop here, so we will eat them. That's good. And more sweet corn is ready. Of course, we got pickles, cucumbers, everything ready to go. Lots of zucchini. Zucchini does produce. You only need 1 or 2 plants and you'll have more zucchini than you can handle. And we did grow some acorn squash as well. The cabbage is ready. I suppose you... Oh, man. That is on there. But looks like we got some pretty nice red cabbage. Got 4 cabbage plants here this year. Well, this is actually growing a second one. Man. I broke this one. Guess I'll have to get my cabbage knife here, but I only got one more, so. That's got a little insect damage on the outside, but I think we're okay. All right. Cabbage harvest 2024 is over. Perfect. We're really producing this year. Of course, this is not our first picking here, so we got 1 5-gallon bucket, and some of these got room to grow, but got one that got wedged in between the stem of the plant here. But it'll still taste the same. All right. Here's one. Kind of missed. Now we'll wait for a rain and get some more peppers in a week or so. And the cherry tomatoes are ready. Of course, I don't know if anybody watching this has grown cherry tomatoes before, but you always get way more of these than you can use. Well, pretty much any tomato. But anyways, gonna pick these cherry tomatoes, and my wife will take some to work and give them away. Let's get picking. One for the basket, one for me. They're pretty good. And then we also got some tomatoes for canning, and then we got some slicers up there. So this year we did a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tomatoes. And as we get into August here, I mean, we just have a lot coming out of the garden right now. You can see we got several cantaloupe ready. We got the cabbage down here, peppers, tomatoes. My wife's going to do some canning of the tomatoes, tomato sauce. Sweet corn's all coming along good. So picking that, eating that, freezing it. You can see some of the sweet corn's dried out over there. And the tomatoes are coming on. So my wife's going to can some tomatoes, make some salsa, tomato sauce, stuff like that. And I don't know the whole process she goes through here, but you can see it as it's happening. And here's a look at the final product. And more sweet corn. And more salsa and more tomato sauce. As I said, we do freeze a lot of the green peppers, but she did slice up and can some of the other peppers. Although I had trouble with the squash vine borer, I did get some pumpkins, we did get some gourds. Not everything I wanted, but we did get plenty. Now my sweet potatoes are ready, so first thing I do with these is, this is the first part of October. I'm going to take the push mower here, and I'm going to just chop these leaves off, mow them down here, and then we will dig them up. And that is a row of cotton you see down there. I didn't plant that till June 1st. We can actually grow cotton in Ohio. I just got some seeds when I was down in Oklahoma and planted them just for the fun of it. And already picked my pumpkins. I had bad luck with the pumpkins. I think I did get that squash vine borer, killed it, but we did get some, and I mowed those off just to get rid of the vines. And you can see the sweet corn's all mowed off here. So this is pretty much the last thing I have to harvest on the garden. I'm really not even sure what part of our country grows sweet potatoes and how they handle the vines, if they spray them with something to stop the plant from growing so they can dig them up. I really don't know, but if anyone in the comments is watching this from sweet potato country, feel free to comment and let the rest of us know. Oh my. Holy cow. Careful here. Some nice yams. probably needed to grow a little more. And that's going to do it for Sweet Potato Harvest 2024. And then once all the crops are off the garden, anything that I can mow up or chop up I do. I'll run the rototiller over it, and then I will broadcast winter wheat seed on the garden. Once I broadcast that seed on, then I'll come through with a little cultivator I have here, and I'll hook a chain up, and I'll drag that across the garden, kind of fill that seed in, and then that's what I call a cover crop of winter wheat that'll go on the garden. So that winter wheat will come up yet in the fall, it'll grow, and then once it gets cold in the winter, it'll go dormant, and then in the spring it'll start growing again, and then I'll just till that in and start next year's garden. And of course, you would think a guy like me that does videos would have taken some video while I was putting that cover crop down, and apparently I didn't because I can't find that footage. But if you look there, you can see that real green spot. That is where the garden was. So that is the cover crop of winter wheat. I took this picture here a few days after Christmas. I was burning some boxes and so forth. So that cover crop will protect that so I don't have bare dirt there to erode, blow away. Cover crop's good for the soil health, all that good stuff. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Feel free to go down there, click on that like button. I know this video is something a little different that I've never done before, so if you'd like to see more garden videos in the future, let me know. And of course, you can check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Farmhand Mike. And check back often. I'm always filming, editing, uploading new content to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next video.